Good afternoon, everyone. I know this is the last session before lunch, but we will at least ensure that we satiate your hunger of information through sharing our insights about how automation can help grow your e-commerce business. Uh, I have with me Mayur, who will be my co-panelist. So I'll be running through the initial part of the session, and then Mayur will be taking questions from the audience and directing it to the panelists. We all know that digital transformation is top of mind for many retailers today, and rightly so, because it has a direct impact on both the top line and bottom line growth. So much so that as per an IDC study, it is expected that the worldwide spending on digital transformation is expected to be $2 trillion US. And there was a Harvard study as well, which mentioned that a successful digital transformation implementation has the potential of improving the gross margin for a business by almost 50% over a 3-year period. And particularly in these unprecedented times due to COVID-19, most businesses that we speak to are willing to explore automation or digital transformation more than ever before. Thus, today's discussion would be largely about what are the automation trends and any insights that we've seen, particularly in the e-commerce or retail ecosystem. We structured the session across 3 themes. We will be talking about the first 60 days of the lockdown, which we are calling a severe adversity. Then the second phase is revival, because as we are seeing some recovery in e-commerce, we will talk about the trends in automation or digital transformation in the next 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months. And then the third phase is elevate or steady state, which is 1 year from now, how do we see the landscape? We have our esteemed panel session now live with us. So before we go on to the discussion, I would request all the panelists to introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Prashant.
Thanks, Kapil. I'm Prashant Lohia from Genesys. We are a retail ERP solution provider. So I am looking forward to this session greatly.
Rajiv, we could go next with you. Rajiv, can you hear us? Gautam, maybe we go next with you then until Rajiv. Gautam, you are on mute.
Sorry, guys. I'm one of the co-founders at ShipRocket. I largely look after operations at ShipRocket. ShipRocket is a shipping aggregation and technology platform helping different partners, helping different sellers to sell ship across different platforms, use different platforms to get the orders and ship them to different partners. Sorry.
Sure. Thanks, Gautam. Mr. Pugal, we can go next with you.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pugal. I represent Tally Solutions, and I thank the organizers for giving us a wonderful platform to address all of you. Basically, I will be sharing my thoughts and our major recommendations on how we can take up this challenge and overcome the adversity, and then how do we take up the revival is what we will be talking about.
Anshuman, if you could have your introduction as well.
Hey, good morning and hello everyone. Namaste. Anshuman Jain this side from Shopify. I represent the partners team for Shopify in India, and at the same time I also work with a few mid to enterprise merchants for Shopify in India. So let me first of all thank the Unicommerce team for organizing such an amazing event today. And to all you beautiful sellers, you lovely people out there for taking your time to hear us today. We'll be talking about a couple of effects of COVID and how merchants have scaled up during this COVID and things around that. So please, thank you Unicommerce team once again, and thanks all your participants who've joined to hear us today. Thank you.
Sure. Anshuman, we were losing you towards the end.
Okay, I'll
maybe if you could try changing your network, it's still a bit patchy.
Yeah, I'll just switch my internet. Yeah.
Sure. Sorry, I missed Rohit. Rohit, if you could also quickly introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, Rohit Khitan. I handle sales marketing at Genesys and one of the founders as well. So I work with Prashant. Thank you.
Thanks, Rohit.
Welcome everyone.
Thanks. Do we have Rajiv or?
Kapil, Rajiv has some internet issue. He said he'll be joining in a minute.
Sure. Sure. Rajiv is the director for partnerships at Freshworks, and he'll be sharing his perspectives from a customer servicing automation perspective. So in the interest of time, let me start with the session, and once Rajiv joins, I will probably pose the questions to him. Is that okay, Mayur?
Yes, Kapil.
Okay. Great. As I said, since we're structuring this across 3 themes, the first theme is severe adversity, which is about whatever happened in the last 60 days and what kind of innovation or digital transformation trends that we saw in different facets of the ecosystem. My first question to you, Gautam, we heard many instances of logistics providers not being able to serve many PIN codes because of the changing definition of red, orange, and green zones. And there were many questions around this in the initial sessions as well. Wanted to understand, did you see any automation from logistics companies to overcome this situation in the last 60 days?
Kapil, I missed you like 5 seconds there where your voice kind of went off, but I think I got the question. In the last 65 days, what has happened is, we went through a different phases with each and every type of lockdown. Some of them, they were technologically managed, some of them were operationally managed, and some could not be managed. Now, challenges largely, very quickly, they were first you opened only for, there was nothing to be shipped. Then we opened for essentials. Then essentials between different zones started being opened. Eventually shipping for all goods, apart from essential and non-essential, everything got opened. So the larger problem that everybody faced was there were multiple, there were issues around manpower, which had to be managed technologically. There were SLA changes, there were aircraft, the transportation could not happen through air mode, could only happen through surface mode. Largely there was a difference in SLA. That was largely managed by technology as well, where different partners launched new EDDs, and at the same time we also started publishing new estimated delivery times to the customer. The larger issue was which are the serviceable PIN codes, which are not serviceable. So think about ShipRocket. ShipRocket, we work with about 7 partners, servicing about 23,000 PIN codes. Now, different courier companies at different times, in different state, due to local issues or central policies, they're changing their PIN codes every day. Sometimes these PIN codes are getting changed in every hour, right? You still have red, orange, and green, which is specified. Then you get containment zones. Then you have to start. So that was largely a big problem where when you publish a PIN code list in the morning, by the evening, you would have people, you cannot fulfill that order because due to some reason that dispatch center is closed, either it is in a containment zone or the customer is in a containment zone. So that was largely a big problem. I think that was where a lot of technology went in, and where we segregated each and every PIN code into a zone as per government guidelines, provide that information and an API so that people can use it in their channels also, and started taking orders where they can service those orders. And we did it for essentials. Similarly, I think hyperlocal became very important because that was the demand you could fulfill earlier, and you can't, because intrastate or interstate movements were largely prohibited. So hyperlocal also became something important. So we went out, integrated a lot of hyperlocal pairs. They were happy supporting retailers, online brands to fulfill their orders. I think these were 2 large technologies that we saw getting done and benefiting the user.
Sure. Thanks, Gautam. Next question to you, Prashant or Rohit. Offline retail has been severely impacted by COVID-19. How did you see retail coping up with this? Did you see any innovation or any new things that the retailers are trying to be able to cope up with the reduced demand or reduction in footfall that they have seen?
Hi, Kapil. Thanks. Let me answer this question. So first of all, if you ask that how offline retailers were able to cope, so I think they were not able to cope. So, and it was like quite a shock for offline retailer. And in the month of April, I think even apart from essential goods, even non-essential e-commerce was also off.
Hmm.
So I think it was a complete shutdown and a kind of what we should do and what we should not do. So anything anybody has ever not clue about anything.
Hmm.
And there was so many confusion about opening, not opening, green zone, red zone.
Hmm.
Till May also, I mean, all the offline store, I mean, they are not opened. I mean, malls are closed. And even in high street, even large stores are not allowed to open.
Hmm.
So I think situation, I mean, of course, I mean, little better than April. Uh, uh, in May, it is little better than April, but overall, I think right now they are figuring out how to manage the show, survive, how to pay the salaries, and stay afloat. But yes, I mean, if you ask me about the automation trend, I think we are getting a lot of inquiries, lot of discussion are happening that how to take now business forward digitally. Of course, I mean, we can't expect that, I mean, overnight everything will become digital and everything will become online.
Hmm.
It will take time
Hmm.
for an offline retailer to come online, and especially those who are not used to. Maybe brands are then also are quite used to selling through e-commerce channel and digitally, but most of the retailers are not used to. So it will take some time, but yes, I mean, people have started working on it and started discussing on it, and maybe Rohit can add about the automation thing that we are encountering. Rohit, can you add on it?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I think a lot of inquiries are there for cloud-based systems work. So whether it is about POS, point of sale, as or ERP on cloud, and as well as digital payment solutions as well. So basically, it's about trying to move away from the physical for now, but they're also vacating their premises as such. They're not saying that we will close down all of them, maybe few stores, but most of them are not saying that they will go away from the physical location and they will start selling purely online. So that part is, it's not that they are saying that this channel will get switched off. It's not something like that. So there is a huge requirement for integration between the online and the offline, and trying to make the store into a fulfillment hub, omni-channel, or you might call it multi-channel, or you might call it O2O. Those kind of things are very big in demand, and yes, we are working with Unicommerce for the same. But more, it's about a lot of automation, doing more with less staff, because the staff is also less. So maybe the warehouse management system, maybe a easy fulfillment logic. Those kind of things will help them, because then the manual effort in working out what to do is less.
Sure.
And also more automated reports, more automated engines to predict where to say keep your stock, which channel to keep your stock in, things like that.
Sure. Thanks, Rohit. Thanks, Prashant. Rajiv, I hope you can hear us, and
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
great. Sorry, since we lost you in the beginning, I introduced you on your behalf.
No worries. I'm really sorry about the technical glitch.
No worries. So the next question I had for you. So we talked about the disruptions that happened in logistics and retail. Customer servicing is something we saw a huge uptake in automation, because now with call centers getting distributed, it was becoming challenging for the old processes to be applied, where every call center employee was physically monitored, because that's why I think customer servicing took to a lot of adoption of digital solutions. Can you shed some light on 2-3 key trends that you saw in this customer servicing space in the last 2 months?
Absolutely. And I think this is one of the industries that has been very majorly hit because of the legacy of the industry. Many of these call centers and BPO operations, etc., could not run as normal. And a lot of them were supporting very key verticals such as banking, retail, and other areas where people had to interact with other people to get their problems solved. But again, call centers were not equipped for employees to work from home. That has not been in their DNA. And but customers today were more available online, and they had more channels to reach out to businesses. So one of the first key trends that we saw in this is there was a huge uptake for cloud-based solutions because companies wanted to support their customers who were with their employees who are working from home, which means they could not have on-prem solutions. So they moved on to cloud solutions like Freshdesk and other solutions for them to be able to support their customers. Second, the trend that we saw was omni-channel communications. The customers usually would reach out through one preferred channel to a company. Right? So they were either walking into stores, or they were calling, or they were on social and other things. But what we see right now is customers are reaching out in multiple channels to businesses. So the channels customers used to reach out have changed because of their inability to reach out to their preferred channels. And now we see a doubling, or even in some cases tripling, of channels in which customers reach out to businesses. People who used to reach out only by phone are now reaching out through phone and their website. So people are reaching out to website or social. So we can see that that is multiplying. And also customers, that is directly impacting the way businesses are aligning their sales forces, because support agents should be now multi-channel as well. And they have to be trained to handle a chat query, which is a very different from a social query, which is very different from a direct phone call that they are handling, right? So going omni-channel also was a huge trend that we saw for retail. Again, there are many tools that were available to make it very easy for them to quickly turn around to their business models. And the third trend that we saw was customers' expectations on how they want to get answered by a business is changing. So when you're at a store, you're used to waiting. When you're at a phone call, generally there is a wait time for an agent to reach out to you. But now, since people are at home and they have their mobile and they are always on, they are expecting almost instant answers from businesses, which is leading to a lot of automation opportunities for businesses in terms of their L1 queries and stuff like that, easily automated. So we see three huge trends that is impacting the business overall. And all the businesses, I think, are also, as Rohit and Prashant said, more businesses are trying to go to a pure offline to a hybrid model now, which means that this is the time they are looking very clearly at solutions that will help them to solve these problems, where customers are going to reach more through digital channels.
Sure, makes sense. Thanks, Rajiv. Mr. Pugal, the next question is for you. Like Rajiv mentioned, that customer servicing has been run in a very legacy fashion until this point. The same was true for accounting, and particularly SMEs have been the hardest hit during these COVID-19 crisis. And even accounting, like I said, had always been done in office. Did you see any trends changing? Did you see it being now handling remotely, or there is a higher adoption of cloud solutions within the SMEs? Are there any trends that you saw?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you, Mr. Kapil. One is the word adversity, right? So I think, we have to redefine the dictionary word of adversity, because, the kind of, the turmoil that we are going through. Okay, we can say that, it is one of the biggest adversity of the century. This one invisible virus has brought down the entire world to a standstill. And it was so sudden that, and especially if you see from the businesses, especially as an MSME or as a small and medium businesses, the year-end process, where March is the time where you get into a year-end process where you meet your targets and all those things, and everything went standstill, right? So basically, if you see this whole COVID-19 pandemic has left the impact on all sectors, okay, of the economy, but nowhere it has hurt the SMEs, which is 6.34 crores of SMEs in our country, and the ripple effect of that is the 11 crore workforce which is being employed are in a really, really sad state of affair. And this has actually brought in the entire activities, operations, commerce to a standstill. Now, MSME being the backbone of the country economy, we are just settling down after two major kind of an epidemic we can call. We can never forget 8th of November 2016, which is the demonetization. Then 1st of July 2017, which is GST, where the SMEs, especially the MSME segment, were really struggling. They were just coming up, and unfortunately we have this particular aspect. So what in Tally, what we have done, fortunate enough that we had come out in the month of February or so with remote access, access of the Tally report on the web browser, where they can access the information. So which means, basically they don't have to, be in the office or, get into the system. Anywhere using the web browser, they can access the report on any device. It was device independent free. Now, during this adverse period, what in Tally also what we have done, we took this as a positive step. And what we did is that, we started conducting a lot of webinars on the various features of ERP functionality, and what are the other online technologies that they can start using it, so because the norm is now going to be social distancing for some time. So these are some of the activities that we did, because predominantly we see the SMEs are less tech savvy. So how do we now move them into an online world? So these are some of the things that basically from Tally that we have done, and then hopefully, hopefully from 1st of June we should be opening up much better, and hoping to see that how things can revive.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Bogal. Anshuman, the final question to you for the adversity phase. We talked about going direct to consumer earlier in the day, and Shopify is obviously playing a very critical role in the same, and is increasingly getting adopted by many merchants, both SMEs and enterprise alike, to build a robust front end. But I'm sure you would have got a lot of demand for building their front end, going direct to customer. For these 60 days, did you see challenges in terms of adopting new digital solutions from these businesses, having to figure out how do they reach out to the customers, because all of this will be very new for them? Are there trends like these that you saw in these 60 days?
Okay, so as a company, so globally, so whatever I'll talk a bit about global, because we are a global company. So globally, we are seeing an interesting trends in businesses moving online and actually realizing the importance of digital. Yeah, much better than before. Now, there is a whole new bunch of categories that this pandemic has opened for e-commerce, and I would say the industry. We are seeing a heavy influx of F&B companies pivoting to online sales, subscription-based meal boxes, coffee companies selling coffee beans, home decor coming up as an emerging category. Social distancing has actually been the new normal, and because of that, the e-commerce as an industry has actually got really benefits to it. One of the best benefit that I see, and one of the biggest change that I see, starting from say 20th of March, that the ads cost, and I think this was a discussion in that day as well, have actually dropped down by 80%. Now earlier, if you were spending say 1,000 grand to get 80 or 100 odd visitors, now that cost has drastically come down to almost 80% in the March and April. And now still it is somewhere around close to 50%. There are some challenges which I see that all these newcomers face. And one of the challenges for these brick and mortar stores is that, yes, sales have less. They want to pivot. They want to start selling online. So one of the biggest challenges they are facing is a service commitment or services by their existing web development agencies to convert their static website into e-commerce websites. And then, yes, there is another set of customers. So Shopify today, we are empowering almost 1.5 million entrepreneurs all over the globe. So today, a lot of these new merchants, by new merchants, I mean first-time sellers, they're actually struggling badly to source their products, especially from China and even in India because of this fulfillment and shipping issues. There's one of this important thing also that we know that because this lockdown has left businesses to work from home. It is definitely possible for IT companies and e-commerce related companies, but teams managing packing, warehousing, fulfillment, shipment, all those are like badly hit, and that has been a hit to the e-commerce business. But at the same time, companies, so when this lockdown started to open, and when relaxation started to happen, starting from essentials being opened in phase 1, and then from phase 2, so I see that there have been tremendous improvement. And then yes, the new normal is that companies and e-commerce sellers are seeing a huge impact, or rather a huge drastical increase in their sale numbers, so which is actually good for the industry. So that's what it is from me.
Great, thanks, Anshuman. Just to summarize, I think these are great points by all the panelists. Some of the trends that we have seen at Unicommerce is one, in addition to what Gautam said about logistics, we've also seen a lot of logistics companies change their communication strategy in terms of talking about the health of the delivery boy, fever check, etc., printing that on the invoice, both the brands and the logistics companies. And obviously, we've seen many of the brands doing some pivots in terms of launching additional products, fashion companies launching masks, etc. So I think some of those business pivots you've seen for SMEs as well as large brands, for example, Make My Trip now getting into online deliveries as well. So we have seen across this board different new businesses pivots happening, and businesses have been quick to adjust to this new normal as well. So which is a heartening trend. They're quickly realizing the change in customer preferences. And as Prashant and Rohit also mentioned, that a lot of retailers are now embracing technology because they realize the consumers are also shifting there. So moving on to the next part of the discussion, which is about the next two phase, which is a revival and the steady state phase. Would request all the panelists to share their thoughts. Maybe we'll start with Prashant. Particularly for retail, what kind of automation trends do you foresee in the short and medium term? You've touched upon it a bit briefly, but do you see that will we be heading towards a future of contactless retail as offline retail opens up after 6 months or 12 months? Or are there different things that retailers will adopt once walk-ins start coming in? How will retail look like in next 6 months and beyond that? Prashant, Rohit, if any of you can take this.
Yeah, hi, I can take this. So, I mean, a lot of our customers have phoned in and also they've sent us messages on how they are opening up. Right now, there are a lot of protocols that they have planned. Since I can speak more for non-essential retail, essential retail, more or less things are continuing. As everyone knows, in the grocery segment, things are a bit different. But for the non-essential retail, which forms a very large chunk of our economy, which includes everything from mobile to home decor to your footwear to anything else. So that basically there are a lot of challenges because it cannot be purely contactless. There's an element of touch and feel involved, and probably that's why the customer is visiting the store. So they are coming up with sanitization protocols that every few hours the garments on display will be steam sanitized. There will be trial room available, but it will be on a chargeable basis. Once a garment is tried on, and if not purchased, then it should be sent back into a steam sanitization room for at least an hour and sent back, put back on the rack only after a couple of days. So things like that, they are coming out, and I think it's a way of managing because we have to live, and they are also understanding that we have to live with it. So we have to, do the best that we can. But it's not that people are not venturing out. There are green shoots. So at least 20% of the business is almost on now, I think. So, and hopefully the trend continues upwards. That's what we can say. So by October, I think unless there is more bad news, but if things are as they are, I think by October more or less we should be back to earlier levels. That's what all the customers, I mean the retailers, merchants are saying, that they should be more or less on a stable footing by that time. And in terms of automation, yes, tracking of inventory becomes, with all these challenges of sending it out, bringing it back, adding it and cleaning it and all that. So tracking inventory is again a big challenge in those additional processes that need to be done as well. So a lot of additional processes are being done, and now a lot of it is there for managing the processes at the store through some digital channels as well. like the SOPs through some digital channels as well, and also customer appointments, things like that, chatbots for customer engagements, helping them out with, is that product available in the store, quick check. So a lot of our customers have put in a request that, okay, is there any way that I can tell my customers that, yeah, these are the products available, and if we just ask for a particular size, can we let them know that this size is available and this is the price? And if they, come in and collect or whatever, we'll give them a straight 10% off or something like that.
Sure.
So they are trying to push sales through whatever medium possible. If direct interaction with the salesperson in the store is not possible, then can the same interaction be done online? Because the sales staff is there, but how to make them work? How to make them work?
Sure. Thanks, Rohit. Gautam, for logistics is going to be the backbone for e-commerce going forward, and they have braved through all the disruptions that have happened and stabilized fairly quickly. Now is the stage set for them for innovation. What kind of trends do you see, particularly in logistics, that may come up in the next 6 months or beyond that as well?
I'll try and answer this question in a different way. I think I will take this question from a first changing buyer trends. So I see two things which are different, going to change really drastic, have changed already. One thing which will have a very long lasting impact is buyer behavior. Everybody is talking about this. I will not repeat myself too much, but there'll be a change in what categories you go and buy. This is a long-term change, right? You will, even when COVID goes away, people will still understand that buying like this was easy. People who thought it was difficult, there'll be a big buyer behavior change, which will have a long-lasting impact on the business. That is good for e-commerce. That is good for retailers who are adopting e-commerce or omni-channel as a strategy. Second thing is, which is very good for the industry, is reduction in COD. So we saw a 20% reduction in COD overall on our platform. That means people moved towards prepaid. Either it was enforced by sellers or the buyer themselves said, because one part of contactless delivery is it's largely getting the order prepaid, right? Contactless delivery is nothing but the person who's delivering it keeps the box and moves 2 meters away from the box, and the person comes and picks it up, right? That is largely that, and then sanitization of people, and then ensuring everything is temperature control of individuals who are working and delivering, etc. is done. These are two large trends that we see in buyer behavior changes, due to which the sellers are benefiting from it. One thing that the other things that I see will largely change from 3PL and logistics is that one is warehousing and fulfillment will become an essential part. People will continuously face the problem at least for the next 6 months. They will face problems of workforce. They'll be there. You will see more people moving into fulfillment and warehousing solutions, and at the same time, retailers who are coming online who cannot process one order each, they will use fulfillment partners to do so. That is one area that I see will change. That is one area that I think there will be a large change in. Second is omni-channel, right? When you're doing omni-channel, you will have intra-city and hyper-local companies expanding. So you will have a delivery going back to a hyper-local model also. They tried hyper-local 2 years back. Now they're back again trying hyper-local because it is becoming very important. Simple things, right? If you're buying something from even a store within a mall, they will expect either to come and pick it up, or they will deliver the goods to you. They will need hyper-local retail. So hyper-local will not only be about grocery and vegetables and food, will also then eventually become retail. So people have to, and then needs will also change. That does the technology and operations will also change. The deliveries will not only happen in 2-3 kilometers, will start happening till 10, 20, 15 kilometers. So those new things that we are seeing. Also, I think with the adoption and I think as a industry, key parts of the industry of e-commerce, we are all essentially over here, right? Who can service a D2C player. So I think the technology is already there between all of us, right? I think the main areas where people will adopt and the solutioning of those solutioning by people like us. A customer who's a brand who can go and build a website and give an omni-channel experience to the customer, use logistics which are hyper local at the same time, and national, which is both are available for him to deliver omni-channel shipments and large national shipments, to also extend where they can a small retailer who's an SME who's sourcing the goods locally can use a Shopify lowest plan and start going online and start shipping those goods immediately with the ShipRocket platform. So that is I think there's an expansion of how people will start using different technologies. The technology is already there largely, and in the last 60 days we have built all the technologies which will be needed for the future. I think largely two changes which I see. There'll be a large change in warehousing. You will have dark store models coming in. You will see more warehouses coming up. You will have more aggregation in warehousing and fulfillment. Third trend is that constant changes in Courier Company APIs and pin code serviceability. It's already there in the system now. It will become far more automated. And last, I think omnichannel will be a big area where everybody will start adopting omnichannel as a valuable model. It's been there for the last 4 years, but adoption has been minimalistic. I think now is where everybody will start adopting it.
Sure. Thanks, Rajiv. Rajiv, to you, as you mentioned, customer servicing is now seeing a lot of innovation because now that's the only option that's there is for. Do you see this lasting? What kind of trends would you see for customer servicing particularly?
Yeah, in fact, I would address it at a broader level, not just with customer servicing. Right? So I would address it at a customer engagement level.
Sure.
We see that businesses want to, one of the key changes as even Anshuman and everybody is mentioning is about moving omnichannel, right? And moving online very quickly. So as every business moves online, they are going to require new tools to engage with their customers for support and also sales processes. One of the biggest change that we saw over the past 1 month and see going forward in the short term is even the mom and pop stores near our houses have moved online and sell online. They collect orders through WhatsApp, they package the goods, and all it needs is to have a hyperlocal delivery partner, or the people go and collect it at a store nearby, right? So this is modern evolution of e-commerce, and so one of the solutions that we provided was you can go online, upload your catalog in WhatsApp very quickly, and you just publish a number to your customers. So customers can interact with a bot, and they can look at all the products, and they can online order. They even, with WhatsApp coming up with their payments in early June, they can even complete a payment directly from the platform on UPI, and they can just go take care of the delivery, or they can get it, go and collect it from the shop immediately, right? So WhatsApp and bots are some very important functionalities that we see as growing, and the cost of it is also really cheap, right? So if you're looking at a cost per session, and most of the sessions will lead to an order. Nobody is going to contact a mom and pop store to browse catalog and move it, right? So they contact you because there is a real need. I need to order vegetables. I need to order my groceries. I go into this number, place my 5-6 items, quickly finish a payment, and you're going to see that coming out. So your session to order ratio is going to be really high, and you're also able to collect payments beforehand. That is also a huge thing that we see as a technology that's coming through. And second, customers who are already doing just moving online for the first time, obviously they're going to buy a domain, buy a website, and they're going to have some chat and related bots on the chat as well. And this is also extremely crucial and important because they can be available 24/7. They can handle customer basic automations right through that. And we see that when you set up a chat, more customers are engaging with your business directly. They believe there is an authenticity coming to the business because you are there to support them as well. So we see that part for both sales and support going up immediately is chat and chat-based support. And the third angle where we see a lot of impact on customer service is that usage of basic AI and ML for like deflecting a lot of relevant queries, right? So in this kind of a pandemic situation, it is very difficult for a business to hire and onboard new people. Very difficult for them to train new people because it is you don't have the same amount of control you had before. So how do you optimize for that, right? You provide them contextual information about who the customer is, what are they bought from you. So again, I'll give you an example from Freshdesk. With Freshdesk, we have integrations with Magento, Shopify, and every single e-commerce platform out there. Then we have integrations with payment solutions like PayPal, Braintree, Razorpay, and other payment solutions. We also have integrations with Unicommerce and other commerce-based solutions. We have integrations with shipping solutions like ShipStation, etc. So ultimately, as a support agent, when I'm sitting out there and talking to a customer, when a customer is pinging me about an issue, I have all the information I need about this customer in one place, and I'm completely empowered to take an action on what the customer wants. So taking a contextual action really enables better experience for the customer, and we see this to be a big investment for at least the upcoming and the big brands that are out there. Because where people are able to see immediate response, customers are happy, they get responses, their CSAT is going up. And we also realize that in the new digital world, if a customer gets one bad experience, right, so they leave the brand 56% of the times. Right? There are so many options that are available. So this trend of providing contextual support is extremely important, and that will help customers retain, brands retain customers in this highly competitive space.
Sure. Thanks, Rajiv. Anshuman, the next one is for you. Like there's a concern that while we are investing in digitization, building our brand, etc., do we feel that all of this will go back to normal? Like once COVID-19 situation stabilizes, there is a lot of push right now for making kiranas go digital. Do you think that will sustain, let's say, 6 months or 12 months down the line?
Okay. So let me refer back to a few statements for a few information that is coming out from the economists and experts of the world. Corona or the COVID-19 is here to stay for long. It will not go forever. Yeah, maybe the new normal is that we'll have to learn to live with this. So social distancing and these situations of the e-commerce numbers. So I really feel that because of social distancing, all the numbers for e-commerce players will increase, right? So for me or for us, the broad and the biggest advantage is that we are sitting on a platform where today it's more or less a do-it-yourself platform, and with the kind of integrated services that we have or that are being offered in the industry, it becomes very easy for the merchants to go. Now, the way I look, yes, in weeks and months to come, all the existing people who were used to work in offices or who were used to work with their peers in office are now getting trained. Just like Shopify did an announcement that till 2021, the entire company will work digitally and go remote. Like that's almost a vision that we've done for the next 18 months. Yeah. And a lot of other companies are also doing the same thing because this will stay for long. Now, for me, because of this social distancing and that people are still struggling and still the working have changed for a typical individual, I really feel that the numbers are not gonna reduce, other numbers are gonna increase. A few changes that will definitely come in. One and the foremost thing that will come in is that the cost to advertise and cost to market might increase. Competition on the internet for again selling your products, identifying local products are going to increase. I don't know how many of you have read this. Google recently launched product tags that customer can now go and list their products for free on their social on the Google searches. It's launched in the America, not in India, but they'll definitely come into India as well. So I see experts see this to be a big channel. And let's look at a couple of other strategies that these players are doing. Let's look at the way Facebook invested in Jio. So their plan is to power social commerce. I think that is going to be one biggest thing. So yeah, peer-to-peer sales, social selling, omni-channel, all these parameters are there to stay for long. I think what the industry was expecting to happen in 2030 has actually now started in 2020. So I think the evolution coronavirus has been, or this COVID-19 has been the evolution for e-commerce. And we are today technically a decade ahead of what it should have been in 2030, which is now happening in 2020.
Thanks, Anshuman. Mr. Pugal, finally to you. As you mentioned, SMEs have adjusted to various black swan events, whether it was demonetization or GST. I'm sure SMEs will also come out of this. But what kind of trends do you see, particularly for SME and accounting, to come forth in the next 6 months or 12 months?
Kapil, as you rightly said, I mean, like this, the revival period, if you take the phase 2, is going to stay for roughly 6 to 8 months. So the most important thing that the SMEs, the MSMEs need to take care is the TRP. Now, I'm not talking about the television rating point. I'm talking about how they can conserve the T for time, R for resources, and how they can bring quick process changes so that they can kickstart their businesses and conquer this crisis. Now, let me just start with a statement. There is a statement says, "For things to change, we have to change." Right? And losers let things happen, winners make things happen. So we need to now get up and then start operating without any negativity and all those things. So basically, what we would suggest is that for you to really kickstart and then conquer, some of the thoughts that we have is that if you can practice this 3 C's, which is the first C is your cash flow management. So okay, how do you start? For the whole thing is basically that how do you leverage your existing technology that you have, and the cash flow management is going to be very, very critical. The second is how do you now start looking at various cost-cutting activities that you can do in your organization without bringing bigger damages or losses. And the third C is basically choosing the right technology. Right. So basically, if you see, like I mentioned earlier, predominantly MSMEs are not tech savvy, and in most of the cases, if you see, I've conducted a lot of sessions for MSMEs. So one thing which is very, very clear, really clearly coming is, the technology is the last item in their wish list. Right? So they are not adopting technology. Now with this crisis coming and things changing, it is very, very critical for them to start, adopting technology and then, move forward. For example, if they have a technology, for example, if you see, if the MSMEs are using Tally, now using the existing technology, how they can start managing this cash flow. A couple of things that they can do is how quickly they can do the debt recovery, and what are the overdue payments that are there, and what is the loss of return on investment by way of interest on the overdue payments. Can they set the credit limit? Can they start negotiating with their customers? And how do they choose the right customer? And also, like Rohit had mentioned earlier, the inventory management is going to be a big thing. So how do we now start? So because now you need to definitely have a lean inventory, and how do you manage it? So using this technology. So in fact, I always use the statement in these couple of sessions that I have done. If you are using Tally, let Tally sweat. Make Tally sweat so that you have information, you have awareness, you have information at your fingertip, so that you can take informed decision. Now, to bring this MSME move into the online world or start adopting the technology, what we have done is that in Tally, we have offered a 30-day full-fledged Tally software free download, which the MSMEs can start, start using it, see the value of it, and how they can start leveraging the technology for them to drive their business in a better way. So these are some of the things what broadly we think that the SMEs should be doing. In the cost-cutting area, definitely, we have to now forget about our wants and then go into the prioritization of the needs and other things. Then they can think of cutting down the marketing expenses and various other things. So basically, the technology should now help them to take informed decision and then do the course correction, because this is going to be a very, very turmoil period for them. So that is what we would wish the SMEs to adopt the technology and then drive this 3 C's to confidently take the business forward.
Sure. Thank you. Just a couple of points from my side on trends that at least we foresee from basis our interactions with different brands and different ecosystem players. I think one key thing that is coming out is there will be definitely more collaboration as we saw more partnerships coming in, because people would want now more end-to-end supply chain visibility. There will have to be a better handshake between the long haul and the hyper-local supply chain. So different players will have to collaborate and integrate well with each other. We may also, at least few warehousing players have told us that they may also see more automation. It may not be futuristic robotics, etc., but smaller automation in terms of weighing machine, etc. We've seen that in large warehouses already, but we will see that more and more in, let's say, mid-sized warehouses as well. And as more and more automation happens, there will be a lot of data that will keep getting generated. So while I know AI is a very over-abused word, but we believe a lot of intelligent insights or systems will get developed as layers on top of these core systems so that they can drive actionable insights for a lot of these brands and retailers. So with that, that's all we had for kind of sharing our thoughts. Thanks so much, the panelists. Now we'll move on to the audience question and answer sessions. I think we had a lot of questions coming in from the survey that we floated, and there were some that came in today live during the session. So I'll hand it over to Mayur. Mayur, if you could ask the questions that came in from the audience.
Sure, Kapil. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your valuable insights. So sharing your valuable insights, how this COVID has been in the last 60 days and the future we have post-COVID. So I guess few of the questions from the audiences have been already answered, but yeah, there are few which are still unanswered. So let me just pick up one. So is prior knowledge necessary to set up an e-commerce site with decent features on Shopify? If not, what are the alternate options for beginners? So this would be a question to
to Anshuman. Anshuman,
Can you rephrase the question? I think he got disconnected, like there was some lag.
Okay.
Mayur, can you just repeat the question?
Sure. So let me ask this another question from the audiences. What would happen if there is a delivery issue due to this green, red and orange area? Will this increase returns? There's a question from Mr. Leo.
This should go to Gautam.
Yeah, Gautam.
I think there were largely a lot of challenges in the initial days of the first definition of orange, green, and red. The challenges were largely where a courier company thought they could deliver, but eventually found resistance on the ground when they finally tried to deliver on a particular parcel. So you're right, there are issues where shipment today is in a green zone, but by the time you have shipped it and is arriving there, it might be in a red zone or something else wrong has happened. So there are cases and we are facing them daily. This is a challenge we're trying to overcome. So it's part technology, part operations, part support from different partners, where we're trying to ensure that between different partners, we are able to sort this out for the customers and they don't lose a lot of money because of this RTO. We're trying to do our best there. We're trying to also put some policy changes, which should be able to help. But to answer that question, this problem is there, but it is reducing by day. By each and every day we move forward. This problem earlier, if it was coming in 3% cases, now it is less than 1% today.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. So another question from the audience is that Mr. Ashwini Kumar is asking very pertinent questions about impact of COVID-19. What dip can one expect in sales of online fashion? Does it make any sense to build inventory for a new season? And most importantly, how do we reduce wrong returns from customers? This is a question which many others have also raised, I guess. So this was a question from Mr. Ashwini Kumar.
I'd like to add a line here. So Ashwini, so we work with a lot of homegrown brands in the country. When I say homegrown brands, small designers who've turned up their jobs and started their own business. So the way we looked at our people and these designers or these sellers are pivoting to new categories or maybe pivoting to new styles that would be really suitable for people working from home, and especially the upper like your shirts or your t-shirts are like the upper what you wear on the upper part hardly matters what you wear on because most of the time you're on calls, and what you are wearing on your on the lower part is like hardly matters. Yeah. So pivoting to new collections would be one good area. And second, the way retailers have reduced the trial and testing model, I think you as a seller should definitely see some hike in sales, but at the same time, make sure that your return policy for a garment is like is slightly tougher, and you should not easily take returns, and let consumer try the product like physically, not physically but digitally. There are tools available where Shopify allows you to use on some tools where they can do a try on, like a 3D effect, how this shirt will look on me. So those things can definitely help and boost your sales. And we are seeing a jump in sales rather than like lower sales.
I'll take the last part of that question.
Sure.
I think the returns, what we've seen now in the last 2-3 weeks of normalcy, where we've seen it, the returns have, there's no change where we've seen a higher return percentage. It's not like that. What we've seen is an increase in COD, reduction in COD percentage and increase in prepaid percentage. I think I will suggest that strategy to every retailer, that increase your prepaid percentage, give COD options, or demotivate the user to get to use COD option. This will absolutely help your business. There is no drastic change in, we do a lot of shipments per day. We have not seen a large change in the return percentages.
Thank you so much. I believe Mr. Ashwini Kumar got the right answer from the panelists. So there is another question. I guess this is for you, Anshuman. Is prior knowledge necessary to set up an e-commerce site with decent features on Shopify? If not, what are the alternate options for beginners?
Okay. I would really urge all these beginners to spend some time on the internet. It's very easy. Go on Google, type, how do I set up a Shopify store in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes? Trust me, today, the kind of infrastructure, the kind of application, the do-it-yourself environment we have, you can connect your domains, your payment gateways, shipping partners in less than 5 minutes on your website. Setting up a website is super damn easy. Shopify recently offered, rather created a new theme called Express. On this Express theme, even if you don't have the image of the product, and if you're like selling essentials and you just want to pick up a random theme, you can sell just without an image as well, but a good description, right? So for new sellers, I really feel, and it would be really interesting, that you should read a lot of content on the internet, and any question that you get, type it on Google with the keyword Shopify. I guarantee you 99% of the times you will get the right answer with step-by-step instructions. And there are cases that you even get a video. Third, you can go to experts.shopify.com. We have a list of almost 150 experts there listed from India who are offering to help and set up your e-commerce stores at a very low cost, like just the bare minimum cost, and will provide you training. So again, what we are trying to do is we're trying to focus do it yourself. So it's super easy to set up a store on Shopify.
Oh. Thank you so much, Anshuman. So there's another interesting question from Mr. Umang. So his question is, what changes are we expecting to see in the overall e-commerce ecosystem due to COVID? How would sourcing strategy for e-commerce change, given that currently there is a heavy dependency on China?
Anshuman, you want to take?
Yeah.
I think Modi ji has already announced some free loans and a lot of things to help the MSME industry in the country. I really feel that we would now focus on Make in India and Made in India and sourced from India as a category. But at the same time, I work with a lot of sellers from China, and they say that shipments are coming easily. They're not seeing a lot of challenges, especially on the electronic category. So for me, yes, what we should have seen in maybe 2025 or 2030, we would see now that a lot of MSMEs, a lot of industries, a lot of manufacturing units will set up and who will serve this e-commerce as a category and will go direct to consumer. like bypassing all the intermediaries and finding a direct sales channel, and e-commerce is the only channel for it. So Gautam, if you want to add something.
No, initial day challenges, same answer. Like we had initial days challenges that imports were largely there were not enough aircrafts moving in with the shipments, and other modes of transportation were hit. Today also they're expensive, so getting the goods are still expensive. But as air travel opens up, and a lot of these logistics companies use normal commercial airlines apart from cargo airlines, that business will start coming up. I don't know how the Hong Kong change will impact everything, but I hope everything is now gets sourced in India, and we can become more dependent on Indian manufactured goods than Chinese goods. And that's my hope, but again, reality will show its own way.
So there's one more shift that we are seeing, that source local and sell local. That is one category that has actually come up really well. And we've seen merchants using our $9 plan and setting up a store on $9 plan, that where they only need a checkout, where they already have a customer asking them for a product through social channels, and they just need to complete a transaction. So source local, sell local would be the new norm, is what I feel. And this is what Google is also trying to push for.
Thanks, Anshuman, for clarifying that. So there's another question. This is for Mr. Rajiv from Freshworks. Does Freshworks integrate with Shopify Store and Unicommerce? If one has to get all the solutions together, is there a way?
Yes, we do. And that's the advantage of the whole platform. So you can, we already integrate with Shopify, and in fact, even multiple stores can be linked, and we also integrate with Unicommerce. So for us, the whole flow can be in a single system.
Sure, thank you. So my question is regarding Tally. Is there some program wherein Tally trains the MSME owners for basic accounting functions? So this question to Mr. Pubil.
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, like we are conducting a lot of sessions for MSMEs. In fact, we have associated with various associations. We had a knowledge series along with ASSOCHAM, where we train the MSME owners on how to start leveraging the functionalities of Tally, and basically start using those features. I mean, like unfortunately what happens is that it is like, I mean, like any business you see, any person, he uses Excel only 15 to 20%, and the features and the benefits of Tally is so much that people are not I mean, exploiting those features of Tally for their benefit. So we are aggressively doing these events, and probably you can I mean, like I didn't get the person who was asked the question, so probably he can write to us, and then we will definitely share. There are at least about 4 to 5 events that are being scheduled on a weekly basis, where the most important concentration that we do is for the MSMEs. We will definitely, share our the agenda of all our sessions.
Thank you, Pugal sir, for clarifying that. Okay, the next question is deliveries normal now in this COVID-19 crisis, and how much time is delaying? So this is to Mr. Gautam.
So I think we have now entered a phase where, so first question is that the shipments are by the SLA of surface transportation. That means what by air that you would ship from Delhi to Bombay or Bombay to Delhi would earlier be taking, would get delivered within 48 hours or next day if you've been able to ship this and connect it in the same night. Now it is getting connected on the third night. Similarly, if a longer or a further line haul will have also an impact, because everything is now being moved by trucks or maximum by trains. So that is one thing which is already there. apart from that, there is a lot of pressure on the workforce. What happened was when everything opened up, Amazon and Flipkart also opened up. There was a lot of demand. I think they were doing they were either back on their same numbers or even higher in some cases. So there was a lot of pressure on the ground due to there are less people. One, people have gone back to their hometowns and they're not at work, and then you have extensive demand. So the entire structure is under a lot of stress right now. Some areas are a lot of stress, some areas are fine. So I think the SLAs, from an overall perspective, if you take surface SLAs, you can add 1 or maximum 2 days right now. Earlier it was 3 days, but right now in most cases it's only 1 day. So SLAs have only extended by a day.
Okay.
Overall problems that you would find is in pickups, because the deliveries earlier, the pickup teams and the delivery teams were different. In a large marketplace environment or where a small seller is shipping the goods, earlier we were able to manage pickups in the same day mostly. Now everything is getting picked up the next day. So that is also one big problem. So we've made changes in our technology where we have automatically changed the estimated delivery time to a more probable EDD, estimated delivery time. So that is able that if somebody is using a ShipRocket, they'll be getting that through an API. So they can utilize that to inform the user. Otherwise, I think I've tried to answer the question. There's SLA difference of 1 to 2 days, maximum pin codes 1 day, some pin codes going into 2 days.
Sure.
Extra.
Thank you. Next question is for Mr. Prashant. So there's a specific question for Genesys. For ERPs like Genesys, how are you working with other solution providers to provide an integrated offering? Are you seeing more adoptions for cloud-based POS solutions?
So Prashant had to leave because of some.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mr. Rohit. So I think you can
I'll answer that.
Yeah.
So yes, we have an integrated ecosystem. E-commerce being one of our partners, and we are providing a lot of integrations, whether it's loyalty, omni-channel, order management systems, shipping systems. So we are integrating with a lot of partners for these kind of technology solutions, so that the customer doesn't have to go from place to place to do, or they don't have to break their heads on integrations. We're trying to offer a standard integration, and in that scenario, obviously, since most of these solutions are on cloud, the expectation also is that the ERP also is on cloud. So we are offering the same as well. A lot of the new customers which have signed up in the last 9 months, a big percentage of that is on cloud. And I think going forward, it will become a bigger trend. Yes, there is still a section who think that they can manage it better, or those who already have large in-house IT teams. So then for them, they prefer it in-house, but most of the others, smaller SMEs, think that it's better that somebody else manages it for them.
Thank you. That means there is a more adoption for POS solutions. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes.
So the next question is, can Freshworks provide live video calling with customers in Shopify website? This is Mr. Rajiv.
Yeah, so Freshworks as such, we do not have a live calling solution, but what we can very easily do is to, we integrate with solutions like Zoom and TeamViewer and others. So if you want to configure a bot or a quick solution on our chat where you can immediately send a link and you can immediately start a video call with the customer. So that is quite easily possible and it's very easily configurable.
Okay.
So on the chat widget that we provide, we have integrations with Zoom and video calling solutions. We can quickly set up the flow where if you want to initiate a video call or a Zoom call with the customer, you can immediately place a link there and the customer can join in and you can join in and you can immediately do the video call.
Okay, so that means that is very much there. Great.
Yeah, very much possible.
Thank you. The next question is, do you see adoption of SaaS, software as a service, in pharma's retail sector? Anyone from the, I can take up this question.
Yeah, I can add a few lines here.
Sure.
So Yes, the MSMEs are growing. We see a few categories that have come up in the past, and one of the category. So, like, I don't even shirk sharing out a name. Check this one website called Two Brothers. These guys sell ghee and some other food products. So
Okay.
yes, brands like this are coming up. Along with, we also have a few farmers who've set it up their websites in to sell to local in their local vicinities. So these would be maybe a group of association who have then tied up with a few sellers who are like farmers at the back and setting up a website to sell in a specific vicinity. I know one of them who's selling only vegetables in Noida, and they've started their store on Shopify. So yes, these categories are coming up because everyone now wants a channel direct to consumer, because the middleman or the intermediary in between is also affected by COVID, and then at the same time they also want to make the product affordable to the customer and fresh as it is. So yeah.
So this Two Brothers which you mentioned, this two is numerical, just for the audiences, their reference. The website which you mentioned.
It's new. It's TWO, Two Brothers Farm
Brothers.
something.
Okay, great, thank you.
It's called Two Brothers India Shop.
Two Brothers India Shop. Thank you.
Yeah.
The next question is, Mr. Rohit, you can take up this. Does Genesys ERP works for consumer electronics?
Yeah, we are working with consumer electronics as well.
Okay.
So mostly all of lifestyle retail we are doing. Other than right now, we're not doing spa salon and those kind of things. So services business we are not doing right now. Rest of it we are doing.
Okay, so we have almost come to an end of the session 3, but there is one more question which I would love to ask. Mr. Wafadar from the audience has got this question. How far are we from high-level automation such as robotics within warehouses, automated drone delivery, etc.?
See, India is a poor country. By having all these guys on board, we actually take away jobs for a lot of people from coming up from these villages and other locations. Yeah, so yes, it's a very common practice even at Shopify warehouse in USA. So I really think we should not really focus on it, but yes, that could be the new norm. At the same time, building a few tools at the warehousing level, like a pickup list generator, things like offline applications where a guy who's picking stuff from the warehouse can actually use those mobile apps would be a good way to start off with, rather than having robots. और अगर किसी दिन किसी स्टाफ को गुस्सा आ गया रोबोट को तोड़ दिया तो फिर it would be a big पंगा.
Very true, very true. Right.
I think
you know those labor unions and all those guys.
Yes, yes.
There are two reasons why any robotics is put into place, right? There is standardization and reduction of manpower cost. Manpower cost is not a problem. Standardization is absolutely a problem. And I think and if you look at robotics, at least in a fulfillment space and not finally last mile, that drones is really far away, right? It's not even adopted in large, and their technologies are now building up and everything is happening. We don't have the infrastructure to be able to have a drone fly from a location to another location, or even from an air balloon to the customer's deliveries, customer's doorstep. But from a warehouse perspective, I think there is a fair amount of automation which has already been placed. I think Unicommerce is also a large player where they have built technology which a customer can use, a seller or a warehouse manager can use to make it automated, fairly automated. Now we talk about robotics. I think basic automation is already there. Mechanical automation is there, where there are conveyor lines, scanning machines, etc. But moving goods or moving the racks through a robotic person to the picker, rather than picker going to the shelf, that is the only technology which today is massively used across the globe, not in India. I think right now the people can walk to the shelves today. We don't have such big warehouses today. We only have small warehouses. So the need of automation or that kind of robotic automation is not required right now, unless you have a massive warehouse where you will have automatic and retrieval delivery systems. But otherwise, I think unless we have massive fulfillment centers, we would not need it. Right.
Conveyor belts is something that I've seen still being operational.
Yeah, that's what I said. Conveyors, scanners. sorters, all that is predominantly being used extensively.
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor, for clarifying this question from Mr. Wafada. So that brings end of the session 3. So we will probably take a lunch break now before we move on to the session 4, which starts at 3 o'clock. So once again, thank you all. Thanks to all the panelists, including our CEO Kapil.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks,
all.
Unicommerce team.
Yeah, thanks
Very
all.
useful
so
session, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayur.
Bye.
Indeed, it was a great relief after hearing on the possibilities of doing and scaling business amid and post COVID. Thank you all.